Hello and welcome. My name is Yojimbo Blade, and we're here to talk about the changes to Shiyu Defense. What's the deal with Shiyu Defense? I have heard varying opinions on people's perceptions of the changes. As for what changed, instead of having floors 1 through 7, each side had 2 rooms, so like room 1 and room 2, floor 7, room 1 and room 2. We no longer have that system. We still have it, kind of, but now it's only for floors 1 through 4. But now it's a bit different. Floors 1 through 4 have the same old school rules, so they should be pretty much the exact same you had before. But floor 5 has a new scoring system, and it's not one that people like very much. What is this new scoring system? Well, the scoring system has a new score multiplier. If you have played through the tower, the new one, you are familiar with the scoring system there, but this is not the same as in the tower, and that's kind of unfortunate. The score is based on how much damage you deal at the specific time that you deal it, and that's kind of annoying. So based on the current time, if the time is under 60 seconds, you will get a multiplier of 5. It's confusing because if you look at the timer in the mode, it doesn't tell you the 60 seconds. It gives you this number. If that time is under 70 seconds instead, it drops to 4.2, and it keeps going down along 3.5, 3.0 at 90 seconds, which is 3.5 minutes. If you just look at the timer, 105 seconds, 2.5, 120 is 2.0, 135 is 1.6, 1.3, 1.0. For each room on floor 5, if you get a score of 25,000, that's an S rank. If you get a score of 16,000, hey, that's an A. Only get a score of 8,000, that's still a B. The total base value for just clearing the floor is 10,000 points. So if you end the floor at 5 minutes exactly, you are guaranteed to, at the very least, get a B rank. Before, if you couldn't clear the floor, you didn't get anything. Like, oh, nope, sorry, you failed. You took too long. So that's different. Is it a good difference? We'll talk about that. Then after that is for the entirety of the floor. If you get a B rank or higher in all your floors, you will get a B. If you get an A and higher, you'll get an A, S or higher, you'll get an S. And you can get double S if you get an S rank in all floors, but you have a combined score of 100,000 points or more. Yeah, this is convoluted. It's different. Yeah, already, I'm not a huge fan of this. What does this scoring system mean? It means that damage you deal earlier in a fight is more rewarded than damage you deal later. It also means that once the score reaches the 1 point multiplier, which is there is no multiplier at that point, you can kind of just do whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as you kill the boss within the time, you'll get the points regardless. Yeah, this is awkward. This is kind of weird. But is it bad? That's a great question. I'm conflicted because I've seen way too many people just say, oh, because of the new scoring system, you have to play bad to get a better score. I hear them say that. I understand what they mean, but what they are saying is just wrong. That's completely untrue. If you just say you have to play bad, that's a bit deceptive. The truth is, you have to play differently if you want to optimize your score. But this is a big learning curve for some people. I don't know if it's a good learning curve, but it is a learning curve for people. I am used to it, optimizing my playstyle in an uncanny way from other people, but the playstyle you have to learn does not feel natural. Based on how we have learned how to play the game, you want to build up your resources for big bursts of damage, right? That's the goal. You want to find windows of really high damage opportunities. And this mode doesn't really allow for that very well. This is not the first time this has happened. Some people say, oh, this is unprecedented. Never before has optimizing your score been so weird before. So, with a time of 3 minutes and 13 seconds, I got a score of 81,000. That's a pretty good score. However, this time is a bit high. Why is this time higher? It's because, if I can find it, I hope I can find it, I had a legendary run of 2.5 minutes, and the score was lower. And I was really frustrated by that. I did that run, I was like, this is legendary. Like, this is an incredible score. No one can top this run. And then I saw OK Muzzy's stream. He had a slightly different team. He took a longer time, and he got a higher score. And I was really annoyed at that. I was like, what the heck? I objectively played better than you. and you got a higher score? What is this? What is this about? We already have this system where playing awkwardly gives you a higher score. That's already in the game. Granted, it's not the same. It is not the same. I'm saying this right now. The scoring system in the tower is not the same as in Shiyu Defense. I get that. I fully understand it. It is similar enough to discuss it with people who probably aren't familiar with it though. So, about the new Shiyu, what's actually bad? Time was a lot better at informing players. Faster times equals faster damage, right? That's intuitive. That's really simple. And now, that's almost all gone. You can still time yourself. You would just time what was the time when it started and what was the time when it ended in your recording. You would just manually time it yourself. You can still do that, but the game doesn't really keep track of that for you anymore. That's annoying. The other issue is that the whale counts have a limit of points they can get. The really good whales could still get really fast times. Like if they wanted to compete, they can compete for really fast times. Now they can't. It's just, oh, you got 50,000 points. That's it. Like you can't get better. You can get better, but right now you can't get better. That's odd. Obviously, that does not affect me whatsoever, but that is kind of weird. You're telling the whales there's a limit to how much they should be spending, I guess? It doesn't make sense. And now it requires 3 unique teams. The reason I have this under bad is that this is more challenging for new or free-to-play players, and it also indirectly punishes vertical investment. The team requirement is not the bad part, right? Like requiring 3 teams, well, who cares? That doesn't really matter. What matters is that if you are just getting into the game or you're a more casual player, this is a bigger roadblock for active participation. Granted, this is an end game mode. Most casual players aren't doing this actively. If you are playing end game, you are not a casual player. Because now that we actually have co-op, casual players aren't wasting their time spending hours in Shiyu. They're spending their time in co-op. Because that's an actual fun mode. What's actually weird, all right, this is not necessarily bad stuff, but it's not necessarily good stuff. It's just, why is this here? Optimizing Shiyu now requires a different level of understanding gameplay mechanics. This does not feel natural for a lot of players, and I fully understand why. It requires an unorthodox micromanaging. You are now not micromanaging your resources, you're also micromanaging the timer in a way that you didn't have to before. I don't necessarily think that's bad, but I don't think that's necessarily good either. This requires context. You can't share equipment. You can never share equipment in Shiyu. That is correct. But now, because your runs are not happening simultaneously, but they don't really tell you which ones are locked. Let's say I do a run with this very specific Billy build. I'll take a break. I'll adjust my build a bit. I'll try out this build because I just want to try it out. Okay, then I go to play Ellen, and I go, hey, what was that build I had before? This is the one I used, so I can't use that one, so I have to equip this one. But this one, hey, this one's open, this one's free, because if my Billy used it, it would be equipped to him. The moment I do that and I try to start, the game will say, uh-oh, hold up, stop, you're equipping a locked W engine. And you say, what the heck? How is this locked? I've only run one team and it's not equipped. How can it be locked? Well, because the game keeps track of what's locked, but it doesn't tell you what's locked. And that's really annoying. What also is really annoying is the fact that they changed how the sorting system on this works. Do not use 4-piece fanged metal on Billy. For the love of God, do not do that. The point is, the game, it tells you if something is locked, but it doesn't show you, and that's really frustrating. That's weird. That is not good. This is the one thing I will say, if they change this, this would actually make things so much better. That's enough complaining. What's actually good? Some things are still the same-ish. The game still rewards high effort gameplay. I will talk more about this later. And it really does provide a strong challenge for end game players. I really enjoy the challenge it provides. Some people don't. That's totally fair. I understand why. This might sound weird. I do like that the way it's set up. We have a lot more room variety that makes it no longer DA light. Let's look at the previous Shiyu Defense. Do you notice anything weird about this Shiyu Defense? It's only one enemy on both sides. The next slot was also just one enemy. But what? I thought Shiyu was supposed to be at like waves of enemy attacks. Like you're supposed to fight waves of enemies. What is this one enemy nonsense? This is just Deadly Assault, but different. I don't want that. If I wanted to play Deadly Assault, I'd play Deadly Assault. So I like that the rooms now have like, hey, here's a couple enemies you have to beat. here's a couple enemies you have to beat. Here's a couple enemies you have to beat, and not just here's one big boss enemy, but we can't put them in Deadly Assault, so we're putting them in Shiyu Defense. I enjoy the room variety. I think that is good and healthy to make it distinguished from Deadly Assault. I also like that there's now an objective to make people feel special when they get an SS rank. The SS is really unnecessary, and I like that. I like that doing really well and getting that high score does not give a strong financial reward. I really like that. I would be really annoyed if it was like, hey, we're locking 500 polychromes behind SS. That would actually be awful. I would hate that. Because even if I could get that reward, I know a lot of people couldn't, and that's 6. I despise that. On top of that, the S rank rewards are also not that good. This 80 polychromes is absolutely nothing, right? Like, I know people aren't playing just because of rewards. Some people are playing because they just want to do really well. Shiyu Defense is an endgame mode. If you are trying to play an endgame mode casually, you're not going to get this, and that's perfectly fine because 80 polychromes divided by 160 polychromes is 1 pull. Multiply that by their 52 weeks in a year, and Shiyu is every other week, essentially, so it's 26. It's 13 pulls over the course of a year. If at any point, if I just had 13 more pulls, I could get a triple S rank or something, dude, just spend the 20 bucks, and don't spend the 200 bucks to get a new agent. And I do like, it does reward creativity more than it used to. For the record, I like Pride Wins tier list. I appreciate all that it does. But my biggest issue with this tier list is that all agents are assumed to be utilized in their full best 3-man team. Stop. Okay. You notice the problem with this statement right here. Their full best 3-man team. Dylan is placed in tier 0 because she's really good. Dylan cannot be put on 3 teams. You can't do it. So you're going to have to pick someone else. And that means you're going to have to be more creative. I said before that Hugo is one of those agents where if this is where he is in his best 3-man team, then he probably does not deserve to be up here. Like, if someone just pulled Hugo and this is Hugo where he's placed with Dylan and Lighter, it's like, you can't get those 2 characters. Like, you can't get them right now. Dylan's not available, Lighter's not available. So where does Hugo go? He has to go lower. Maybe not like tier 2, but like tier 1.5. Like, he can't be this good if this is his best 3-man team. And maybe well, I don't want to just give Hugo both Dylan and Lighter. I want to give Dylan to another team. Okay, still Hugo has to go lower. This is the best he can possibly be. So you have to be more creative with how you build your teams in this mode. I like that a lot. Because before, you could just kind of brute force it with the 2 strongest teams in the game. Now you have to pick 3 teams. Despite what some people will say, the new scoring system can be optimized. I know people will say you have to play badly. You can optimize it. You really can. I enjoy that. That's a good thing. Now, is it better than the time? No, it's not better than the time system we had before. But the fact that you can optimize the scoring system, I think is really good. So let's be honest real quick. No, you don't have to play worse. I'm tired of hearing people say, oh, you have to play worse. The people who are playing worse are not doing well. I can play badly and I will get a bad score. And if I play really well, I'll get a much better score. I'm not going to demonstrate that for you. I don't play very well. The following has some math that I'm simplifying, and the exact numbers are not too important. I recorded some footage for this earlier. The current score multiplier is 5.0, and the current score is this number here. If you want to do the math for how much damage this ult did during this stun window, I already did it for you. It's 930. Now with that shown, let's see what that damage is when it's not in stun. Now this score is a bit different because I don't have Paleda's King of the Summit buff active, so it's slightly lower. And I can't guarantee what moves crit and what don't. So these enemies, it's still within the 5.0 time, but they are not stunned. So I am missing out on a multiplier. If you do the math, you get a score of, I hope I did this in the right order. Oh, sorry, I did it in the wrong order. While enemies are not stunned with a score multiplier, it's a score of 399. Again, the asterisk is because I didn't have Kaleda's King of the Summit buff active. And the other video, there's an asterisk because the start of this, the timer is at the 4.2 range, but it immediately shifts over to 3.5. And then one of the enemies is no longer stunned when I end the combo. Over here, he exits stunned, so that shifts the score too. The point is that we can actually calculate the scores that we're going to get based on our damage output. Why is this score the case? Well, let's actually investigate. Why does this score pop up when it does? In room 1, all enemies have a stun damage multiplier of 200%. However, the stage buff adds another 20%. Room 1, Flame Cantor, Wicked Wraith. These, and Covenant Guardian. Stun damage multiplier, 200%. Stun damage multiplier, 200%. Stun damage multiplier, 200%. These guys are taking double the damage during stun. Enemy stun damage multiplier increases by 20%. So, while enemies are stunned, the damage score will multiply by 2.2. I can try to show this by showing you the base damage of each move. If you divide the score multiplier of this 930, without the total score multiplier, we are getting a damage of 186. If you do the math, this is the score with the 5x multiplier outside of stun and without King of the Summit. But if you do this math, Banyue's ult is dealing this much damage if they were stunned. And then with the last one, this is a bit more scuffed because it's hard to perfectly time it at the 3.5 mark while they're both stunned. But hey, 186, 175, 169. These are all really close numbers. The mathematical term is, close enough. Because of this, we can actually optimize when is the best time to deal damage. So in Room 1, reaching stun, even with fewer resources, will most likely be in your best interest. Stunning as fast as possible is theoretically always better. I will discuss the reality a bit later. In contrast, Room 2, with this clown over here, Sacrifice Jester has a stun damage multiplier of only 125%. So in damage, the stun buff you're getting is only multiplied by 1.25. So for Jester, your stun damage is less relevant. It still matters, don't get me wrong. The damage you deal during stun is still important. Multiplying the time score of 3.5 with the stun damage is less than the time bonus of just the 5.0. I'm not doing this for the rest of the bosses or enemies, you get the idea. The point is that we can actually optimize when is it ideal to deal. When is it ideal to deal? That's not going to work out. We can actually optimize the proper time to deal our damage. So here's the reality. I said I would talk about the reality. It's most important to focus on dealing damage during time windows. And this is the really weird part. When people don't like this, I fully understand why, because this does not feel natural. Back to Room 1, there's still an important detail that I kind of skipped over. How quickly can you build up resources? It depends, so I'm going to guesstimate some numbers. I'm going to make up some numbers that I think sound kind of correct. The exact numbers don't really matter, but they're, for the sake of this discussion, we'll say they're close enough. Suppose an optimal solo rotation. Take one character, what can that one character do during stun? This is their solo rotation and it deals 100 damage. Again, small numbers are easier to work with. And let's say this damage comes from 2 EXs, which does 30 damage, 1 chain attack, we'll say that deals 20 damage, 1 ult deals 40 damage, and some arbitrary amount of their basics deals 10 damage. So if we take this character in this Shiyu run, we're going to have you use 1 EX during the time window that with the score multiplier of 5, and then you'll do your full rotation for the stun window during the time multiplier of 3.5. Again, this is still Room 1. This is the math that comes out. You don't need to worry about doing this yourself. This results in an 845 damage score. I forgot to put score here, but it's damage score. This does not count the basics and dodge counters and whatnot you will do before stun, but again, I'm trying to keep the math very simple. Instead of using both EXs for this full rotation, let's say you only use 1 EX. 2 EXs during the 5x score multiplier. We'll say you use 1 EX during the stun we had before. But because you have more time, maybe do a couple more basic. Not exactly a full second rotation, but just enough. This is the math. Again, you don't have to do this. And this is the damage score you get. Do you notice something weird? This number up here should be 100. Now, you don't have to be a math expert to realize that this number down here should be lower than 100. By having a weaker stun rotation, you end up with a higher damage score output in total. That is the part that feels weird and unnatural. You are not fighting for optimal stun rotations, you are fighting for optimal time damage rotations. And this is what I call opportunity cost. What are you losing by saving or spending resources? In most modes, you are saving up resources for a stun window to deal your ideal damage. And when you're not close to stun, you're just spending them because who cares? Doesn't matter. But if you can build up some of those resources later, why not use them right now? You're getting a better score anyway by using them sooner, so why wouldn't you just use most of them sooner? Even on floor 1, you still want to save up some of your resources, but probably not all of them. Maybe you only do 1 EX in a stun instead of both of them, like you're used to using. Overall, as unusual, as uncanny as it is, Shiyu still rewards high effort gameplay. What is that high effort gameplay? I've mentioned that a bit before. What do I actually mean when I say that? Maximizing the damage score requires paying attention to the current time, to the enemy positioning, to their attack patterns, to their base stats, which include their stun damage multiplier, their anomaly buildup, their defense and whatnot, their current days and anomaly buildup. You usually pay attention to this stuff anyway. And understanding the proper time to spend your resources based on this information. And sometimes the proper time to do this feels very unnatural. It does not feel right at all. I totally understand when people say, yo, this feels dumb. I agree. I totally get it. Do I like this new setup? I'm not sure. I don't dislike it, at least not yet. It does reward my ability to micromanage a lot of tiny details. If you notice, I use my ult when he's at 75-ish days. That doesn't seem right. That sounds really dumb. Why would I do that? It's because during this fight, I'm only getting 5 ults anyway. Later on in the fight, when he gets to around 87, 88 days, I get enough decibels for another ultimate. So what do? I save those decibels for the stun window. Why didn't I save the previous one? Because very simply put, by using my ult immediately, instead of saving onto them, I am gaining 1480 decibels. If I had to wait for my stun rotation, I am losing out on all of these decibels I would have had. So I realized that, hey, there's no point in me saving this ult. I'll save those ults for a different time when he's closer to stun. And again, the speed of this does not really matter to me. What matters is like not getting hit. So I have the experience to do this kind of thing, and that's why it's not that big of a deal for me to learn how to optimize this new score rotation strategy, whatnot. I am used to it. But I know these changes have frustrated others for various reasons. I totally get that. I would prefer that some of these weird and bad issues were addressed, but overall I am content. However, they could always make this worse. As much as I like it now, there is a good chance that they just make it worse. I don't want them to do that, but they could. In conclusion, hold up, this is the wrong slide. Let me go one more. There we go. In conclusion, I want to know your thoughts and opinions. Tell me how you feel about it. Tell me how you've experienced the mode. Tell me why you like or dislike it. If you've been watching this video, subscribe if you feel like it. If you feel so inclined, you can become a sponsor of the channel by becoming a YouTube member. You don't ever have to do this. I will add you to my list of sponsors for my discussion videos. Shoutouts to my super sponsors, Super Bro and I Love My PC Necros. Thank you guys so much. Overall, I hope you have a blessed day. See you soon.